Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Talks with Deezer. Now guys, this is part two of my journey, my story, story time, walking out of my marriage. Please check out part one. I'm going to link it in the description box. So yeah, part two. So let's just do a quick recap of where we left off before. So in the last part of the video, part one, I spoke about like just getting up one morning and walking out of the marital home, and that was kind of, well, that really was the end of that, to be honest, in terms of like me living there. I didn't stay at that home again, and I was talking about this idea that probably once you've left this toxic relationship, then it's the start of your happy beginning. And for me, it wasn't the start of a happy beginning. Leaving such a toxic relationship was not the start of my happy beginning. Actually, it was the opposite. It was the beginning of going downhill, and going downhill really to come back up again. So I really want to just talk about that a little bit more. So at this point, I've left, I've walked out, and I come to Jamaica, right? So I book a flight to Jamaica, initially for 2 weeks. I ended up staying for a couple of months. And then I went back to the UK. And guys, I kid you not, within 3 weeks of going back to the UK, I'd booked my ticket to come back to Jamaica. That's what I was doing for the first few months or so. I was just kind of just going back and forth. So I was, spending a few weeks in Jamaica, coming back to England, spending a few months, and then come back to Jamaica. And that's what I was doing. And I kid you not, like every time I left Jamaica and came back and went back to England, it was awful. Like, it was actually awful. I remember I would initially look forward to coming back to the UK because I think I was excited to see like family and stuff, and I remember coming back to England, arriving in England, and literally just feeling depressed. Like, I don't know, just feeling like down and just feeling like I just don't want to be here. Like, this place doesn't make me happy anymore. Like, this place doesn't make me happy. And it wasn't just about the place not making me happy. That was one of the feelings I had, like coming off the plane and being in the car on the way up, it was just like a down feeling. That was one thing. But another thing also I think it was dealing with reality. Having to deal with reality. So when I'd come back, because the thing is this, right? When I just left. So usually when you're leaving, when you're moving out somewhere, you plan, don't you? You plan, you prepare. You plan and you prepare. You don't just get up and go. You plan, you prepare, and I didn't do any of that because of my situation. I just left, so I hadn't prepared. I hadn't kind of rang any of the companies or rang any of the utility companies. I hadn't rang anybody. I hadn't, people and companies and businesses that I usually would have called and explained the situation. I'm moving. I need to do this. You organize yourself, right? I hadn't done any of that. I hadn't done any of that, and so I think on each occasion when I had to come back, it was, gosh, I've got to face reality of this. I've got to face reality of that now. But there is a part of the story, guys. I just want to backtrack that I missed out, right? In part one. And I just want to quickly fill in that blank. So do you remember when I said to you the Christmas Eve, there was an incident of domestic, abuse, domestic abuse. And then the next day we had family around. Now, guys, can you imagine going through that the day before and then having your family around and then having to put on a brave face, having to smile through it, having to act like everything's normal? It's like, it's difficult. It was difficult to just act like everything's fine. Christmas is a happy occasion when all your family get together. And knowing what I'd gone through the night before was just ridiculous. But when that happened, and this is why I said as well that we kind of check out mentally first. I kind of started to make preparations to go. So what I did after that Christmas period had gone, I then explained very clearly that, this can't keep happening and that I was going to move out and I was going to find a place for myself. And that's what I did. I didn't move out, but I found an apartment for myself, a really nice, brand new apartment. and I was going to move in to this apartment. So because it was a brand new apartment, they said to me, look, it's not going to be ready until maybe a couple of months' time. Are you okay with that? I said, fine. It was a rental apartment. I paid my deposit and everything. A couple of months' time came, and the developer got back to me and said, listen, we're having some issues. It's going to be another month. I said, okay. And guys, this kept happening and happening and happening and happening and happening. And it just kept going on and on and on and on and on, right? And so I was still in the house. Like, I was still in the house. Much to my dismay, I was still there because I was relying on this apartment, which I thought was going to come through for me a lot quicker than well, it didn't come through because I didn't end up moving in the end. And so there I was, still in the marital home, still just going through the motions, you know, still doing what married people do, still just going through it, still unhappy, still just wanted to leave. But I was kind of stuck now because this apartment hadn't come through for me yet. You know, wasn't ready. And so that was a part of the story I wanted to fill in. And I just think it was important to add that part because I had already started to make preparations. Now, what my idea was that I was going to move out for maybe a year or so. Maybe, I don't know, a few months to a year. But that it didn't mean that I was going to end the marriage. It just meant that I just needed space. Like I think I just at that point felt like we needed time apart, and without being in the same household. And so I was going to move out for a little bit and then see if we could just take our time and rekindle, you know. And that was my plan. It didn't actually work out like that because once that Christmas Eve once the months carried on and I didn't get to move out and this happened, the incidents kept happening, then that's when I just walked out. Yeah, that's when I just walked out. So in the end, I didn't even when I left, I was still waiting for this apartment because at this time I thought, okay, now I've actually walked out of the marital home, I still got this apartment that is going to come through for me. And again, I was given the runaround again and again and again. And then in the end, I just said to them, look, just give me my deposit. I can't manage this. And by the time I'd done that, I'd already come to Jamaica and, you know, was going back and forth. Good. To come back to England was just a dredge for me. And it was just like, I'll tell you something. It was like being in England at that time was the most depressing time of my life. It was the most depressing time of my life. Like, I knew going through this toxic marriage, I was unhappy. But you know, once I left, came to Jamaica and was going back and forth, every time I came back to England, the feeling was 10 times worse. Like, I was just feeling so down, low, depressed and everything. And I'm not really quite sure why. Like I said, I think it was just being back in London for me was just like a no-no. It just made me feel down. And I think also, like I said, facing reality, right? Facing reality because you've got so many I had so many ties to the UK. Obviously, where I was born and raised and lived all my life. And so I had so many ties, and it was just having to deal with all of it. Like, it was really difficult. And I remember at this point now, I had left my job because obviously I'm back and forth and lots of things were going on there. I left my job and I then ended up deciding I'm coming back to England for a few months. Yeah, because I wanted to work, earn some money and go back. And I did do that. And I remember I ended up moving about a little bit. Like, I ended up going to Luton for a very, very short time. I absolutely didn't like it up there. I think it was the area that I was in. I don't even know what it's called. The road I was on. It was awful. It was awful. And then I ended up going to Kent, quite deep into Kent. And I was there. I don't know how long I was there for. Good few months as well. Back and forth. Still Jamaica, back and forth. But I decided I'm going to work. And I did some jobs here and there. I think at one point, guys, I was like doing 3 jobs. I say hustling, but I was doing like 3 jobs at one point. Yeah, I was doing 3 jobs at one point. Like, I would do night work and then I'll be working in the day and I'll do something else on the side. 3 jobs to try and get by, try and make some money and, you know, to come up, so that I could keep coming back to Jamaica. But it was such a difficult time. Like, it was such a difficult time for me. And I just ended up encountering so many things. Like, I just ended up encountering so many blows, so many low points. And at that time, I just felt like everything that I had, everything I had worked hard for was just crumbling. Like, I was just losing everything through, I was just losing everything. And then I started to feel angry. And then I started to feel angry because I felt like I'd left the marital home, and I started to feel resentment and anger because here I was in this new space, new home that I wasn't happy in. I didn't have any furniture, anything like that, I didn't really have anything. I think I remember I slept on, for the first few days, the first week, I just slept on a single mattress on the floor. I didn't have any stove, I didn't have a cooker, I didn't have a fridge, I didn't have anything like that. I didn't have anything. Like, I just slept on a single mattress on the floor, like, by myself in this space, in this house. And this is when I was in Kent. And I started to feel angry because, you know what, I felt like I didn't deserve that, but I just felt like I had worked so hard to provide everything in the marital home. Like, I was the breadwinner. I looked after everything. I bought everything. And then to have to walk away from it all, or to choose to walk away from it all without recouping any of that, I started to feel angry. Like, I got to a very angry place. Eventually that went, and then I started to feel like, you know what, it's just materialistic things. It's just materialistic. You'll get all that back. You start again and you'll get all that back. Yeah. But guys, I hustled and I worked hard. And I'm not afraid to talk about certain things. I remember I was cleaning. Remember, I'm a qualified person. But I was hustling. I was trying to make the money. So I was doing 3 jobs. So I remember I would be like in the evening cleaning, doing cleaning jobs, cleaning offices, cleaning toilets, to make up that money so that I could, book my ticket, come back to Jamaica and try and live some type of life. Now, all of these jobs were temporary because I knew I couldn't take a permanent job on at that time. I couldn't have a permanent job because I knew that I wasn't going to stay very long. I knew that at some point in time I was going to come back to Jamaica, and that's kind of what I was doing back and forth. And it was like, I don't know. I did what I had to do. But again, I also felt low and I felt ashamed as well. And I don't know why. I don't know. It wasn't a feeling that I thought I'm better than this. No, because give me work to do and I'll do. Like, if it comes onto work, if you have to work, you have to work. But I just felt like I'd come from up here, I've always worked hard in my life to achieve what I want to achieve. And one thing with me is that I'm not afraid of change. I actually like change. I'm not afraid of change. So I could wake up today and decide, you know what, I don't want to do this job anymore. Like, I want to do something else. And I'll go and do something else. I'll retrain if I have to retrain, and I'll go and do something else. But here I was, I'd worked so hard all my life to get to here. And then now, this is what's happening in my life. Everything's just going like this. Everything is just going downhill. And I actually think the best decision I made was to, on one of the visits back to Jamaica, just stay in Jamaica. Just stay and not worry about going back. And at that point, I think that was probably coming up to just before COVID times. Probably COVID, around COVID time, just before COVID time. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to just stay and we're going to make it work. And I think that's when Outlaw and I really just pulled together and just thought about what we're going to do, thought about our plans, thought about our ambitions, thought about our dreams, thought about what we're going to do. I guess that's another story, right? And I've shared some of it. We both shared some of this as well. And we just came together and decided this is what we're going to do. COVID hit. That was another low. Another low for the two of us, because now this is the first time that we're experiencing kind of low point and hardship together. But like everybody, lots of people experienced it. We made it through. I actually think it made us stronger. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the test. Because we came out of it. And I just, I'm just in such a good place right now. And I'm glad that part of my life is behind me. It has taught me a lot. And let me tell you, I think one of the biggest lessons it's taught me, a couple of things. One of the biggest lessons it's taught me is forgiveness. And not just forgiving others. And you know that, and I'm sure a lot of you know when you forgive somebody, you don't do it for them, you do it for yourself. Because if you hold on to that anger and that bitterness, it eats you up. It doesn't eat the person up. You know what I mean? A lot of people say, I'll never forgive them for what they've done. I'll never forgive them. Nah, that's not me. Like, I don't have anything to do with that person. I don't want anything to do with that person. I don't think much of that person. But I understand that forgiveness is important because it's important for me so that I don't end up angry and bitter. But let me tell you who the biggest person I had to forgive was: myself. I beat myself up. In the relationship, I beat myself up. You start to question, am I not good enough? And I'm quite a confident person. You start to question, am I not good enough? Maybe it's because of this, maybe it's because of that. Even when I left, I beat myself up. I beat myself about a lot of things. I beat myself up about decisions I'd made in the marriage, outside the marriage, things that were nothing to do with the marriage as well. Like, I just beat myself up. I thought I was a bad person. I kept saying to myself, like, internally, you're such a bad person. You've done such bad things. And I have made some stupid mistakes in my life. Like, I've done things that I actually think, guys, if you knew the full story, you'd be like, nah, Deezer, what? Honestly, but now's not the time for that. Maybe down the line when I feel comfortable sharing that. But I've made so many stupid mistakes in my life. I've done some really stupid, dumb, irresponsible things to my own detriment, to the detriment of others. And all of that with a failed marriage. I beat myself up, guys. I beat myself up. You're a bad person. I'll tell myself and tell you you're a bad person. You're not good enough. You deserve all of this. And forgiving myself was the biggest thing that I could have done. You see, when I started to forgive myself for those things, because guess what? God forgives me. Like, God forgives us all if we ask for it. Why would I not forgive myself? Once I started to forgive myself, that's when, I guess, another sense of peace started to come. That's when the load started to feel lighter for me. And I think that's when I could really move on. Because without forgiving myself and forgiving others, I couldn't move on. And that forgiveness was such a big thing for me. Forgiving myself for my actions, for my past actions, the things I'd done. Forgiving people for things that had happened to me. That was like a breakthrough for me. That was like the massive breakthrough for me. And it just helped me to move forward and to be where I am today. And let me tell you something. Everything I have done from that point onwards, I try to do with integrity. Like, I try to do with honesty, integrity, because I never want to fall back into that place again. I never want to fall back into that place where I feel I'm doing wrong, or where I feel I've got to forgive myself and I don't want to beat myself up. I never want to get there again. And forgiving myself is one of the biggest things I've ever done, and it's really helped me to get to where I am today. And so in losing everything, guys, I'm not going to list them out, but in losing everything in that situation, to being here in Jamaica with really nothing at all, like, ain't nothing to my name, nada to my name, and building up and starting again. Because remember, guys, me coming to Jamaica wasn't a planned thing, but I wanted to make it work. And coming here and Outlaw and I building our lives together slowly, and ticking off our, our dreams, just being able to tick them off. Yep, we've accomplished this. And what we do is we have a bigger picture, right? We have the big picture, and we work our steps backwards. So we say it's going to take us 6 or 7 steps to get there. Let's start at step number 1. And being able to just tick those things off and take small steps to achieve. It's just beautiful, and doing it with somebody who shares the same dreams, who share the same ambitions together, who is supportive. It's just the best feeling ever. It's the best feeling ever. It really is. You see, after I left, I didn't care about love. Like, I was ready to give up. Like, I don't need nobody. I'm gonna do this by myself. Like, we try to thug it out. Like, I'm gonna do it by myself. I don't need nobody. Because one thing with me is that I was independent. I've always been independent. I'll work, I'll get a good job, I'll earn my money, I'll get my own place, I'll get my own car. Like, I will do all the things I need to do to get on with life, right? And so I wasn't looking for love. I wasn't looking for no relationship. Like, I don't, like, you know, you've been burnt so many times. I don't need nobody. Like, I don't need nobody. And so when Outlaw and I got together, I was very open and transparent about the things I'd been through. And I warned him, you know, if you ever, yeah. And, you know, it works for us. And, you know, I'm in a much happier space. So I'm gonna wrap it up here because I don't want to be waffling on. But that was just a little bit about me leaving, what happened next, and where I am now. And guys, I'm so happy. Like, I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm happy that everything is working out the way it's going, and I just look forward to what the future holds and what the future brings as well. So guys, that's part 2 of the story time, and I think I'm going to wrap up that a little bit here. I don't think I'm going to emphasize or go on more about that issue, but guys, just look out for the next video. I'll be sharing some more things with you from a different perspectives, different topics, so look out for more videos. And like I said, guys, if this platform is a platform that you are interested in, come and sharing your story, whatever that may be, whether it's celebrating life, whether it's highlighting something that you think, you know, you want the audience to be aware of, whatever it is, this is a safe space. And this is what I want this to be a safe space to share our journey, talk the things them. Yeah. All right, so guys, so thank you very much for tuning in again, for watching another video from Talks with Deezer, and I'll see you in the next video.